The train screeched to a halt, its metallic wheels grinding against the tracks with a deafening noise that reverberated through the empty station. Its brakes howled, echoing through the deserted station, the sound bouncing off the cold, tiled walls and amplifying the eerie silence that followed. I shivered, pulling my coat tighter against the damp chill of the underground. The cold seemed to seep into my bones, making me feel even more isolated in the vast emptiness of the station. It was past midnight, and the fluorescent lights buzzed with an eerie intensity, casting long, distorted shadows across the empty platform. I was alone, the only soul in this desolate place, waiting for a train that seemed like it would never come. My heart thumped a nervous rhythm against my ribs, each beat echoing the anxiety that was building inside me. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the occasional distant rumble of a passing train somewhere far away. I glanced at my watch again, the luminous hands mocking my impatience. Time seemed to stretch endlessly, each second feeling like an eternity as I waited for the last train. Where was the last train? The question echoed in my mind, growing louder with each passing moment. The platform remained empty, the tracks silent and still. My gaze darted down the tunnel, searching for the telltale glimmer of approaching headlights. Nothing. The darkness seemed to stretch on forever, an endless void that swallowed any hope of the train's arrival. A sudden gust of icy wind tore through the station, whipping my hair across my face. The cold air stung my skin, adding to the sense of unease that was growing within me. I gasped, my breath catching in my throat. The unexpected chill took my breath away, leaving me momentarily stunned. It smelled stale and strangely sweet, like overripe fruit and something else. Something metallic. The scent was unsettling, adding to the surreal atmosphere of the deserted station. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, that I was not as alone as I appeared to be.
Waiting for the last train?
I spun around, startled by the voice. My heart raced as I tried to make sense of the situation. A man stood a few feet away, his features obscured by the shadows of a wide-brimmed hat. The dim light made it hard to see his face clearly. He was tall and gaunt, his clothes nondescript, blending into the darkness around him. It was as if he was a part of the shadows themselves. Yes, I stammered, my voice barely a whisper. Fear gripped me, making it hard to speak. He took a step closer, and the fluorescent light flickered, momentarily illuminating his face. The brief light revealed more than I wanted to see. His eyes. I knew those eyes, piercing blue like chips of ice, and unsettlingly familiar. They seemed to bore into my soul.
It's late. You shouldn't be down here alone. His voice was calm, but there was an underlying tone that made me uneasy.
His words sent a shiver down my spine. The coldness in his voice matched the chill in the air. I wanted to agree, to turn and flee back to the relative safety of the street above. My mind screamed at me to run, but my feet seemed rooted to the spot. I couldn't move, paralyzed by a mix of fear and curiosity. What did he want? Why did he seem so familiar? The distant sound of an approaching train echoed through the empty platform. It was a reminder that I wasn't completely alone, yet I felt isolated. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart. I needed to stay composed, to figure out who this man was and why he was here. As if sensing my resolve, the man stepped back into the shadows, his form blending once again with the darkness. The momentary connection was broken, leaving me with more questions than answers. Alone once more, I stood on the platform, the weight of the encounter heavy on my mind. The train would arrive soon, but the memory of those piercing blue eyes would linger much longer. The air crackled with unspoken tension. His gaze held mine, those icy blue eyes seeming to bore into my very soul. I felt a growing sense of unease, a primal instinct screaming at me to run.
I'm fine. The train, it's just delayed.
There won't be another train tonight.
He chuckled, a dry, rasping sound that echoed unnaturally loud in the deserted station. His words hung in the air between us. He was wrong. He had to be. I checked my watch again, my fingers trembling slightly. The red digital numbers blinked back at me, 1:12 a.m. The last train was at 1:15 a.m. I wasn't late. The air grew colder, the metallic scent stronger, making my stomach churn. I noticed, for the first time, a faint humming sound, barely audible above the buzzing of the lights. It seemed to emanate from the stranger himself, vibrating in the air around him.
"You're mistaken. The train is due any minute."
He didn't reply, but a slow, knowing smile spread across his face. The humming intensified, and I thought I heard whispers, faint and indistinct, swirling around us.
My breath hitched. I could feel my pulse throbbing in my ears, a frantic counterpoint to the buzzing, humming darkness that seemed to press in from all sides. Where was the train? Panic welled up inside me, a cold, suffocating wave. I backed away, my gaze darting around the deserted platform. The shadows seemed to deepen, stretching and contorting like living things.
Stay.
The stranger whispered, his voice soft yet compelling.
It's not safe.
His words, meant to reassure, only amplified my fear. I shook my head, my heart pounding against my ribs like a trapped bird. I stumbled back, my heel catching on the edge of the platform. For a moment, the world tilted precariously. I gasped, throwing my arms out to regain my balance. Below, the tracks gleamed, black and cold in the dim light. Time seemed to stretch, distorting. The air shimmered, the fluorescent lights buzzing erratically. I blinked, my vision blurring. When I opened my eyes, the stranger was gone. The humming ceased. The whispers faded into silence. The air was still, the metallic scent dissipating like a bad dream. I was alone. Had he ever even been there?
She glanced at her watch. 1:14 a.m. The train. It was almost time. Relief washed over her, weak and shaky. She had imagined the whole thing. The stranger, the whispers, the fear. It was the stress, the late hour.
A rumbling sound echoed through the tunnel. Finally, the train screeched to a halt, its doors sliding open with a pneumatic hiss. I stepped inside, eager to escape the oppressive atmosphere of the station. The train car was nearly empty, the few scattered passengers lost in their own late-night reveries. I sank into a seat, my legs trembling with residual fear.
Her gaze fell on a discarded newspaper lying on the seat opposite her. A picture on the front page leaped out at her. It was him, the stranger. The caption read, "Missing person case remains unsolved."
A chill ran down my spine, icy and relentless. It was as if the very air around me had turned to frost, seeping into my bones. The newspaper trembled in my hands, the black and white image blurring as my eyes welled up. It couldn't be. He was gone. The headline screamed at me, but my mind refused to accept it. How could someone just vanish without a trace? I looked up, my heart pounding in my chest. The faces around me blurred into a sea of indifference. Did no one else feel this? This overwhelming sense of loss and confusion? I had to tell someone, show them the picture, the date. Maybe they would understand. Maybe they had seen him. But the date was today's. How could he be gone already? But the words caught in my throat, strangled by a sudden surge of icy dread. My voice felt foreign, as if it belonged to someone else. I wanted to scream, to shout his name, but all I could manage was a whisper.
The train lurched forward, and she gripped the edge of her seat, her knuckles white. The motion jolted her back to reality, but the fear remained, gnawing at her insides. As she glanced at the window, she saw her reflection, pale and terrified. Her own eyes, wide with fear, stared back at her, questioning her sanity. And just beyond her shoulder, staring back at her with those same piercing blue eyes, sat the stranger. His presence was both familiar and alien, a haunting reminder of the mystery that now consumed her every thought.
The train screamed into the darkness, the lights flickering once and plunging me into absolute blackness. I was trapped, hurtling through the underground with him. The train rattled and swayed, the only sound my ragged breaths and the frantic thumping of my own heart. Time lost all meaning, minutes bleeding into hours, or perhaps it was only seconds.
Where are we going? The question echoed in the silence of her mind, unanswered and unanswerable. She closed her eyes, surrendering to the suffocating darkness, the chilling certainty that this was only the beginning of a journey with no end.